This is Dawn Harima. I'm with Self Foundry, and I am a certified life coach and a high school teacher. And I'm also a mom. Frankly, this is not the 90s. This is not the early 2000s. Things are different, and we need to get with the program. And I need you all to come together, understanding that we are forging a new frontier in parenting. So let's do this together. We're going to raise resilient kids, confident kids. They're going to sail into adulthood together. We know God has our children. I am so blessed to be on this journey with you of parenting. I live for summer. For me, I'm just soaking up all the vitamin D I can get. But there's some really, really cool, fascinating stuff. For instance, in the summer, we often go barefoot. Your kids probably naturally want to be barefoot outside. It's a really cool phenomenon. And if you look at how kids are designed and biologically how we're designed, we really are optimized when we are outside in nature, in fresh air, walking around barefoot. And to be honest, there's a lot of studies coming out. If you don't believe me, go ahead and Google grounding. Look at all the beautiful benefits of just connecting with the earth and how it's really helping with anxiety and a lot of different things physiologically in our bodies. So very cool things. We also get a boost of vitamin D. It says 70% of Americans are short vitamin D, and I would say it's probably higher. So we do love getting outside, minimum 10 minutes a day, but really they want more than that. Your kids are just trust me, I'm sitting here with your kids in my classroom. Your kids totally want to be outside. All they do is look outside. And I got big kids, guys. I teach up to 18, 19 years old. Even they are drawn to being outside. They ask me all the time, can we just sit outside while we do our work? It's so cute. But this is a really fun time. So let's get into the schedule shift, just the schedule shift. Now, for a lot of you with little kids, you're dreading this kids popping up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, what are we going to do today? And you're just sleep, maybe. So I know it's going to be very different versus the conversation about teenagers, how do I get my kid out of bed? It's lunchtime. So I know the full spectrum that I'm dealing with if you're a parent on this call. But really what I want you to try to think about is the consistency. So studies are showing that teenagers' brains are actually most optimized and active at 11 o'clock a.m. and 11 o'clock p.m. This is very, very different from adults. So our schedules and our structure is going to be super different. That's why it's really funny because my kids always, their brain activity is higher, from 11 to midnight. And that's usually when drama from the day kind of starts to surface in their mind. Kind of started around age 12, 13. But it's just that their bodies are really, really primed up at 11 o'clock during the day and at night. Yay! You gotta love that when you gotta be up at 5 in the morning. But I just want you to kind of remember, there's stages. It's okay as long as your child is consistent. So in my mind as a parent, I was always more focused on the number of hours slept versus the time frame slept. So as we're parenting in the summer, I want your goal to be about health. Don't worry so much about fitting in normal schedules. Possibly this is a good time for kids to figure out their natural circadian rhythm. A really good opportunity in the summer is to help them feel their body. When do they need to be outside? When do they need to rest? When do they need to take a nap? When do they need to go do physical activity? So if we can teach our kids to really tune into their bodies during the summer, it is awesome. This is also a really great time when you're working on the sleep schedule to work on an actual schedule. So one of my pet peeves with how millennials and Gen Z and now Gen Alpha are being raised is that their phones really don't let them feel bored. So when they're not bored, they're not curious about life. And what they're doing is they're scrolling. So as I talk to students, as I talk to my clients, what I'm hearing is, I'm so bored. So what I do is I go on the phone and I'm looking for something that makes me laugh. A lot of them want to laugh, or they want to be really focused. They want to watch a sports game or something pretty intense where they get riled up and fired up. So they're looking for laughing or fired up. But when you have millions and millions of videos at your discretion and at your disposal, what's starting to happen is it takes a lot more to entertain them, a lot more just what would you call it? I don't even know. I don't even know what they're looking at. I mean, half of it is ridiculous, but just a lot more attention seeking, attention grabbing. They know that these kids' attention spans are super short. So what they're doing is they're making clips, they're making shorts, they're making these videos shorter and shorter and shorter, and trying to like pack a punch faster to get them to laugh, to get them to hook in, to get them engaged, to get them fired up. So when we're looking at how that's affecting their sense of time, they're really, really short attention span. So I want you, I'm going to beg of you to really focus on giving them more extended time activities. We need to retrain their brain. So one of the times when you're going to find kids are scrolling endlessly is often at night before bed, and it's often in the morning when they're not quite up and moving. So one of the tips I gave to a client who I'm finding this is happening with is I said, please, 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 when you go to bed, take your child's phone and charge it in your room. And then don't give it to your child until they have gotten in the car to go to school or gotten in like X number of chores, like whatever it is. And you can apply this to summer or you can apply this to the school year, but you just want to take the phone and then give their brain a break. We want our kids to say, I'm bored. If you hear I'm bored, I'm going to give you like 5 gold stars because boredom is the beginning of creativity. Boredom is when their brain starts to kick into gear. Boredom is when you actually let your imagination come to life. So the more we can get our kids bored, the better their development of their brain is going to be. Can I just get an amen? We cannot keep spoon feeding them stuff to do. This is not your job. Your job as a parent is not to prevent your child from ever experiencing the horrible feeling of boredom. When I talk to kids, they literally tell me that boredom gives them anxiety. So, I mean, like just process that for 1 minute. Boredom is equal to anxiety. Boredom is equal to depression. When we start to see this happening where they're unable to distinguish the difference between anxious and stressed out and bored and depressed, like we need to really, really intervene. So I'm going to beg of you, let your child be bored at every age. The younger, the better. We want them to begin to experience boredom. When we create space for boredom, however, we need to give them resources to pour into. So this is where hobbies come into play. I always say, especially by middle school, definitely by middle school, you want them to be experiencing a variety of things. Now, I understand that if you're in a city versus in suburbia versus in like rural America or something, it's going to be a very different experience. So remember, I always like to go back to the Bible. How did God design us to be? God designed us to walk in community, not to be alone. So figuring out how to find people and bring them into your world, having time to walk and talk with God. So having that spiritual structuring of having a relationship with God. Then also eating good food. So it's a great time to start to teach them to cook and learn how to snack well. And then it's also a really, really good time to think about, what does God ask us to do? God put us in a garden and asked us to take care of the plants and animals. That is work, guys. It's work, but it's working with nature. This is such a beautiful time to really be kind of teaching your kids, this is how our bodies were designed to exist. So if we can incorporate that back into our kids' lives, the earlier the better, it's going to feel normal. It's going to feel like they're actually drawn into it. And a lot of kids love this. I'm finding more and more students, because now our school has a garden. A lot of kids absolutely adore gardening. They don't like weeding. I mean, you have to be real about it. Nobody likes weeding. I hate weeding. I mean, that's like a curse in the Bible. That's something God sent us to torture us. But the growing, the seeing how something can come from nothing and you can nurture it to be beautiful and to be productive and to add value like food. This is really, really, really monumental to these kids' lives. And once they start to realize it, I mean, how many adults find their joy in taking care of the lawn? I don't know if you can hear all the lawnmowers outside my window right now, but adults just, they do like being outside. My friends and I, we just love growing things and experimenting, and we're not good at it at first. So it's really a cool time for them to start caring and nurturing for plants and animals. So walking the dog, taking care of other people's animals, like whatever it is that you need to incorporate into their life, That's really great. And then what's really cool, once they're good at it, they can actually turn that into money as they get older. That can become part of a side hustle, a business. And that, my friends, is adulting, trying to figure out what hobbies we have that can actually transition us into earning money. So speaking that into our kids really early on is huge. Another thing that you can start to do is really develop hobbies. And you can kind of think outside the box where like you want your kids to see a lot and to experience a lot. So having like an art area of a house. Like I know somebody I was dealing with was like, oh, I can't do artwork. My desk is white. I was like, hold the phone. Hold the phone. IKEA has plastic mats for desks that you just like lay out. You can put them under the desk. You can put them on the floor. You can put them on top of the desk. Like so many things you can do to protect your house. That is not a reason to not be creative with art products and things like that, or beading. Kids really, really do like to create and to invent. So encouraging a jewelry hobby. My daughters graduated from like doing big beads to doing like braiding and stuff of embroidery to actually crafting real jewelry. I mean, I got to the point where I was buying tools with actual claw clasps and like gold and stuff. And then as they got even older, because now they're in high school, one of them has gotten into thrifting actual jewelry, and then she deconstructs it and reinvents it as something really cool. And one of my friends actually saw one of her pieces and was like, can you make me something like that? I love that. I've never seen anything like it. Boom. This is entrepreneurial mindset at its best. So you can start it really, really young. I have a lot of kids who are really highly trained in sports. Okay, cool. Guess what I did when my kids were little? I had a group of moms. We all had similar age kids, and we were like, I need mom time. You all need mom time. You need dad time. You need to have adult conversations. And when you've got kids on your, like at your beck and call, like all around your feet all day, you feel like you're last in line. And I know that like teachers took your kids for 8 hours a day. We're very happy to give them back to you for 2 months, and then we'll take them back all refreshed and happy. But for 2 months, you have like no break. I know. And you're possibly trying to work and juggle all this and figure out schedules and all. So you need to build in time just for you, for decompressing. So what I did was I found a local dance instructor. Now remember, I had 2 girls. You could do this with soccer. You could do this with flag football, having a kid who knows football. Whatever your kids are into, you can hire the teenager. And here's what I did. I said, all my friends who want to come to my house, and we are going to stay inside, and we're going to have coffee or snacky things and drinks, whatever it is that you want to do, whatever time of day, you can do your thing. And then you can even do a Bible study, like whatever makes you happy. And then every single person who came paid that teenager $10. My teenage little assistant was so excited. She was like, what? I just made $100 in 2 hours? What? I was like, yes. Would you like to do it again? And they were like, yes. So what the rule was we only did it on a nice day. All the kids had to stay outside. She was very happy to keep them. And then I was very happy to sit and have adult conversation all by myself. And, we got really gritty as parents. We would go to IKEA and check the kids into the ball pit, and we would have coffee there. Like we just did whatever we had to do to get together. Make you a priority. There's that saying about grabbing the oxygen mask. You got to put it on yourself on the plane before you put it on your children. This is so true in so many ways. So try to find times that work for you. If you have littles, a really awesome thing to do is to try to find parents in the community and just kind of put it out there. Put it on the town Facebook page. Put it on whatever. We are gathering with ages 2 to 5 every Tuesday at this park. Bring your coffee and show up, or bring your sneakers and show up. We're going to walk laps while the kids play on the playground. Whatever it is that you need to do, figure it out. Make it happen. You don't have to put yourself last. Your kids need socialization. They really, really do. They need exercise. They need to be outside, but so do you. So try to blend it. Get creative. Don't get overwhelmed. Remember, phone a friend. I had a really good friend that we knew, like, if you were calling, you pick up the phone. Like there was a problem, we needed to talk. That's really awesome. But sometimes you need to find your person. This is a lonely time to parent, I think. Post-COVID, everybody got kind of I don't know, we locked in too long, I think. And I think it takes a lot of energy and a lot of confidence and a lot of time to put yourself back out in the world and reconnect with people. It doesn't mean it won't happen. It just means we need to retrain ourselves that it's something that if it gives you joy, you can incorporate it in whatever doses you need. So as much as you need to schedule. But it's exhausting mentally to try to reinvent the wheel every week. So better is to set it up on a schedule. So every Tuesday, every Saturday, like whatever it is. For my friends, we meet one Saturday a month and we go out for coffee and we know we're going to be there for 4 hours. Like we go for coffee and food. And when they given us the skank eye, we buy more food. So that's what we do. But we needed that. We needed that as like women who just needed to be together. We're not bashing our husbands. This is not a negative time. I want you to understand, because at first my husband was like, are you just like bashing us? Are you just talking about us? I'm like, no, I want to talk to people who like love me for different reasons than you love me. Like I just want to love on them. So try to find that time. It's really, really beautiful. Other things you can do is it's a beautiful time to, on purpose, begin to train your children to prep food with you. They need to understand how important being part of a family is. How do families come together? So many times it's food. We have lost a lot of matriarchs in our society who used to gather people. Gathering is huge. Families need those people, the patriarch, the matriarch of the family, to gather us. Many of us are hesitant to step into those roles, I think, and a lot of the elderly are a little tired of always being the one to gather. So it's a really cool time to kind of think about the legacy. Who's taking that on? So you're possibly going to be taking that on as parents, like you're starting to step into the next role where the grandparents get to relax a bit and you start to take on the heavy load. But bring your kids with you. It starts at the table. So what I think you should do is really, and I'm just recommending this from what I did, was think to yourself, what's your goal? My goal for my kids was I wanted to be able to, this sounds really morbid, die, and they would be okay by age 14. I don't know why I got that in my head, but it really, really served me. I'm like, I want my kids to no longer need me by age 14, but to want to be with me by age 14. Like I wanted to love them and be there for them, but I wanted to give them every skill set that they needed by age 14. And I can say every single one of them, all three, without a doubt would have been fine if I died when they were 14. They would have just been fine. They wouldn't even have needed much of anything. I think they could have even started a business by the time I was done with them. So I was super, super proud of them, but I worked on that really, really intentionally. One of them is food. Now, I have a daughter who has an autoimmune disease that is very difficult to control, and we use food as medicine, honestly. So for her, she had to learn how to cook her food, what she was sensitive to, how to make it easy, how to food prep. So we do this. We do this as a family. We food prep. It sounds really overwhelming and intimidating, and I think it kind of is, but it started with me going to the grocery with them. We started very slow. Let's go to the grocery. Let's see what you want for the week. We would sit down, and every time I made a meal, I would be like, do you like this meal? Should it go in the book? And what we did was we built a book. We have a recipe book, and it's like Harima approved recipes. So if it was good enough, I would copy it in. And then what we started to do was when we were kind of like meal prepping, we would go, oh, well, let's go to the book and see what ideas we should have. And that was great because sometimes you get stuck in a rut. Like how many times can you eat the same food? So we would have this book of food we'd tried that we liked, and then we would kind of reinvent it. Some of the recipes over time, I was like, whoa, we need to rewrite this and make it healthy. So we've done that too, it's totally doable. So that's how it started. Shopping, creating a recipe book. And then over time, I started to ask them to prep the food with me. So they knew that they would come home from the grocery, we would put the food away, and then we would prep like vegetables and meat and things like that. So that kind of was the first transition. And then over time, especially with my daughter with the autoimmune, she knew Sundays were food prep time. She had to get ready for the week. And so for her, my goal, because honestly, this girl's got big dreams, big ones, and I know she's going to want to travel, and I know I'm not going to go with her. I'm not going to be able to get on the road with her. And that really is legit what she wants to do. If you ask her what she wants to be a rock star. She wants to be a producer. She wants to be a songwriter. all of that is getting on the road. So I knew I needed to free her from me. And when you think about that, that's really beautiful. All of us want, when they're 18, for our kids to just fly from the house, and we want them to choose to visit. We don't want them to feel like they have to live with us because we need them, or because they don't have money, or because they don't feel safe. We want our kids to fly the coop. So for me, that was a huge goal, was to really, really make her confident, healthy, and able to make this manageable, because it's really, really hard, because frankly, we have cut out all lectin for her. And if you know anything about food, that's a beast. Lectin is in everything, but she just doesn't handle it well. So anyway, my kids have gotten very, very savvy with food, and it's something that's given me a lot of relief. Even when they were very little, if you have really little kids, I recommend a snack drawer that's at their level. So we had a snack drawer for dry food, and then we had a snack drawer in the fridge, and they knew that they could have from the snack drawer, and that gave them a sense of independence. They knew what they liked. We knew it was healthy or not, and they knew they could only have one unhealthy thing a day. And we just kind of got used to that, because it's kind of a life skill, isn't it? I think it is. So that was how I addressed it when they were little, and obviously we had to grow that up over time. If your child is not packing their lunch this year, I'm going to say, just so you know, teachers always have kids who are much higher in their maturity in general compared to the average parent. I'm not putting you down. I'm just saying we have seen hundreds of kids through our classroom, and we know exactly how capable kids are. So by the time they get to our house and they're living in our house, we're like, well, I know you should be tying your shoe and packing your bag, and I know what you're able to do. So I do find that teachers' kids are always a little bit more advanced. Like even when I teach a teacher's kid, I know. I'm like, are you a teacher's kid? Yes, you are. I know your mom. What district do your parents work in? So I can always tell, because they just think differently. It's really, really fascinating. A lot more responsibility on them. And it's not hard. They don't talk about it like it's hard. They expect like everybody should do this. And they're always shocked when other kids are like, oh, my mom does my hair for me. And they're like, what? Why don't you do your hair? You know? So my kids, I was teaching them how to blow dry their hair in the summer, just so that they knew by the time it was fall how to blow dry their hair. So they were blow drying their hair. I want to say they were like 10. So if you're still blow drying your kid's hair, I mean, it depends on how long it is. Honestly, like one of my kids has really long hair. So her little arms were too short. I think I gave her another year. But it's something that like they need independence. You don't want them to rely on you for confidence, for doing, for things like that. We want them to trust themselves, not just you. So they need to trust themselves that they are capable and that they can do hard things. So sometimes hard things is adulting. So if you think about all the things that are overwhelming to kids as adults, doing laundry, keeping track of money, doing their hair, socializing, whatever it is, schedules, that's a big one, calendaring, that is really, really adulting on steroids. So if we can start to prep them early on, you are going to be golden. So don't get overwhelmed. I'm talking like little things like doing their hair, doing the laundry. At least start with folding laundry and then putting it away. That's huge. So summertime, I would say week by week, what do you have? 10 weeks, right? I think that's the summertime for most people, 10-ish weeks. So chunk it. Let's just chunk it. Don't go crazy. So week 1, decompress. Everybody needs to just breathe, right? I mean, that's the time when the kids need a break. You need a break. We all need to just relax for 1 week. Give yourself that grace. Tell them, this is our break week. We're going to relax. Some of us like shoot off for vacation. I know I do. I do my vacation pretty quick. And then we do an end of summer, like something together also. But, you know, for that first week, really be intentional about finding your joy and reconnecting with them. Kids really, really, really love just snuggling on the couch at every age for a movie. They love having friends sleep over, just things that like got pushed on the back burner from May and June, which we know are chaotic. Let that back into your life maybe for a week and tell them next week we're going to start structuring. So just be ready, like give them a little bit of transition time. Then you can start to work on calendaring. So what you can do is on the weekend, especially if you're a working parent, you know, you are kind of limited in your time. So I would say Sundays, you would sit down with the calendar and you would kind of talk to the kids, and you're going to actually put on the calendar big things that are going on for the week ahead. That's where you're going to sit down, you're going to talk to them, and you're going to be like, are you planning on going anywhere? How are you going to make time for friends? Tell me what day you want to talk to so-and-so about doing something. Get them to think about connecting with friends, for sure. So we're going to kind of go outside to inside. So who do you need to connect with? What do you need to do? So that's going to be one thing. Then you're going to kind of start to go into developing the inner self. What time do you need to work on your hobby? So any hobbies that they want to do. Summer is a great time to learn instruments and to practice that kind of thing. So I would highly recommend building in intentional time. When do you want to practice kicking soccer? Do you want me to hire somebody for a couple, like maybe once a week for the summer, who's going to work on you with your skills and stuff like that, getting ready for fall sports? We have a guy who's amazing who works with our kids on shooting and stuff like that for soccer, and the kids love it. So he gives them things to work on for the week. I have some kids who have a trainer, and so the parents don't pay every day, but they might pay for a training session once a week, and then the kids kind of like set up with that trainer what they're going to do for the week. A lot of kids follow people online. I will tell you, I'm not trying to be like hurtful, but kids who are healthy and feel good about their bodies feel good about themselves walking into a room. 2 months for a kid is an amazing opportunity to really get healthy and to really feel good about themselves. Have you ever noticed that when you're doing active things, even if your body hasn't changed, your mindset starts to change? It's going to be the same for students, for kids. So your kids will definitely thrive if they start to just feel their body come alive. So for my son, I noticed he has a really hard time focusing. Like doing homework after being in school all day was too much. And if you notice that that was too much for your child, here's the moment. I used to ask him. I didn't tell him, I didn't force him, but I used to say, why don't you go run around the block today? And then we built it up, and he would run a little bit more each day. And what he was finding was that he was much calmer. He was able to sleep better. He felt better. And wouldn't you know it, the kid's 27 and he's running marathons, so it's incredible, but he needed that movement. And my other daughter ended up being the same way. She doesn't like it if she doesn't run at least 2 or 3 miles a day. And that was something we had to figure out kind of early on, was that helps them focus. It gives them better calm for the rest of the day, better self-concept, better ability to relax when they were supposed to relax. My other daughter, who's more like me, she finds running increases her stress. So she really was learning that her body, I know what it is because I deal with it. It's like a cortisol reaction. So we tend to have a higher cortisol reaction when we run. So what we're learning, because that's what I'm actually in a training program myself, is that walking is all our bodies need. So we're focusing on 10,000 steps a day. So we have this fun goal between my daughter and I, is we're going to get to 10,000 steps every day. And so she'll come back and she's like, I did 3 miles today. And I'm like, I only got 2. And then it's a game. And then we go for a walk at night. We love walking at night. Remember, when are your kids most peaked? It's at 11 o'clock at night. So we like going for a night walk. It's super fun as your kids get older. It's a great time to connect. It's not so hot. And you can take the dog. You can go as a family. I see a lot of families by me walking together. It's really beautiful. So maybe consider that. Having these healthy habits just established at an earlier age is going to benefit them so much down the road. So I wanted to talk about rules, because we're kind of talking about nighttime. And if you're raising teens, tweens, you might understand that rules is going to be a thing that's going to kind of be butting heads, right? So rules. You want to make sure when you're building rules for the summer that they make sense for the values you have for your family. What I mean by that is not every rule actually really matters. I always use the example, we tell toddlers that they have to share. Share your toy, Tommy. That's how you're nice. Friends share. Let me be honest, as an adult, I so rarely share. There's only one person that I really share with, and that's my spouse. And I deeply love him, but I also expect him to share. We also have a covenantal contract to share our finances, share our home, share our child, share everything. So that is an exception. The average friend who is not necessarily 100% reliable, why are we asking them to share? I don't share my coffee. I don't share my cell phone. I don't share my car. I don't share my laptop. I don't share. when we focus on these things that don't really match our values for life, it's very confusing to kids. So one of the things that I think you could kind of do, sit down with your spouse, try to come up with a list of rules that will match your values. Make sure that they're like something you will die on the hill for. What I mean by that is that you are willing to punish and follow through with discipline if your child breaks that rule. If you do not want your child having opposite sex friends in their bedroom and you're going to die on that hill, make it a rule. But express it, not in a mean way, not when they've already broken a rule. Set it up ahead of time. So early summer is a great time to create a little bit of structure. Think about what it is that you want them doing. I'm in New Jersey, and so when you're on your early driver's license for the first year, they can't drive after 11 o'clock, and they can only have one friend who is not related to them in the car. Now, I love it. I think that's great because I used to see 5, 6 kids in an accident all the time. And it was really hard as a teacher to see that sometimes. So we're seeing fewer casualties, fewer accidents involving multiple victims who are young. So that's better. But at the same time, I also see a lot of parents choosing not to die on that hill. So they're like a little wishy-washy with it. And that's hard because they're going to be like, well, Susie gets to do blah, blah, blah. So you need to know, is that a hill you're going to die on? So I would say some things you can do. Curfew. Now, I have friends who need to be in bed by 9 o'clock. I understand that you get up super early, especially if you have a spread of kids or if you're working. Here's a little secret sauce tip I learned that was so cool. Buy an alarm clock. Put it outside of your bedroom and shut the door. What the alarm clock is set for is their curfew plus 5 minutes. Say you need them home at 11, so you're going to set it for 11:05 p.m. If they get home on time, they're going to turn off your alarm clock. Then you just get to sleep through the night and you know your child was safe. However, if the alarm clock goes off, it's going to wake you up. Then you know to be worried or angry or whatever. But at least you got a little bit of sleep. You got your 2 hours of sleep that you really do treasure and possibly need. So that's one way to counter when your kids are starting to live this nightlife that you really just can't keep up with because you have a morning life still and they're in summer mode. So that can be really tricky. So think about that. I went to an amazing conference, or I think I listened to it online, and I got these 3 rules. These 3 rules work for every single age, and I loved them. So if you want to think about adopting 3 rules, I'm going to give you my suggestion. 1, is it kind? So what you do when you discipline is you don't tell them what they did wrong. You ask them. So if you're hearing something like maybe a parent calls and says your child posted something, and instead of just yelling at your child and disciplining and trusting what somebody else said, you can ask questions. You can say, was it kind what you said? Tell me what you wrote and tell me, do you think it was kind? If they broke that, that would be a rule. And that's where you're teaching morals and things like that, values that matter to you. So one good question that's actually a rule, is it kind? So be kind, but you're going to use it as a question. Is it kind? Is it respectful? That's number 2, because you have to respect property, respect animals, respect life, respect, boundaries, time, respecting a lot of things. So that's a great one that covers so many things. So is it respectful? When you break curfew, is that respectful of us? So you're kind of getting into a lot of things. Is it respectful to show up late to work over and over again? And then the last one is it safe? Is it safe is a great one for every age. So, Tommy who's climbing 50 feet up in a tree, is that safe, Tommy, to come down? And then Joey, who was driving at 75 miles an hour, and you heard about it from somebody who happened to see them, you can go, is that safe? It kind of goes to every age. It's a great one to kind of cover a whole host of sins. So hopefully those 3 rules will really, really help you. So is it kind? Is it respectful? Is it safe? Okay. I'm going to just cut it off because I could talk nonstop about summer. I don't think I really covered academics because that is a lot to cover. I'll have to do that in another video. But my little food for thought with academics is more than anything, please, please, please have them read. Every age should be reading. You should be reading to the littles, and then they should be reading on their own. I don't care how old they are. As a teacher, we are seeing a huge decline in language and thinking and processing. And when they don't read, they think that the problem they're experiencing is so only something they've experienced. Like, that doesn't make any sense, because when you read that there's a human condition, human suffering, that we have shared experiences. When your child doesn't read, they don't know that suffering is part of being human, and then they don't know that there is an end, because stories take us through a process. So please try to incorporate reading into your children's lives. So if you wanted to hold off on giving them the phone in the morning, tell them, you cannot have the phone until you do this chore and read for 45 minutes or an hour. Really, it's about 55 minutes of focus is your goal. You want to get your kids to focus for 55 minutes over time. So that is my quick tip, summing up academics in a nutshell. I hope this was beneficial. I hope you kind of thought about not just the overwhelm, but the opportunity that summer presents to us as parents, because I hope that your kids will become really confident, really changed over summer, ready to tackle the fall, ready to really be more confident in who they are, how they're designed, their identity, knowing what they're good at, knowing that they are becoming independent, and being honestly really willing to take some risks. So I think that's cool too. Lots of things that we can talk about, but food for thought. So if you are interested, I do have a tech contract that you can sign up for. The tech contract is just a way to basically first have a conversation with your spouse and anybody else who's taking care of your child in the summer, just to get the language shared before you're talking in front of your child, to talk about discipline practices, what would happen if something went bad, and then to give the tech contract to your child. And then everybody signs off on it, and you keep it in a public place, like on the refrigerator. So I highly recommend it. Then you would take a picture of it. And then when your child breaks a rule, you would literally zoom in on that part, snap a picture, text it to them and say, what do you think about this part of the contract that you signed? Do we have a problem? Do we have a conflict between us and the contract? What exactly went bad here? So it's really a conversational platform. This helps us to not yell and attack, but to have good, fruitful conversation. So if you're interested in that, I really recommend you click in there, you get that contract, edit it if you want to, you can use it as is, but I really hope that's a little bit of a blessing, especially as we go into this big, open 10 weeks of unstructured time with your kids. So good luck. Happy to help you. Call me if you need to talk about it, if you have any questions. And I also do one-on-ones. So if you ever wanted to have a consult, my consults are free. And coming soon is my digital course. So the digital course is Rebooting the Family, and it's really for teenagers, but it's also for parents. So you could watch it on your own and then become your child's coach, or you can watch it in tandem with your child. You can even send your child off to do it on their own. And so I handle it in all different ways, but it's adaptable, and it comes with calls and consults with me and coaching, live coaching. So I want your child confident and resilient and able to navigate all of the things that life throws at us. So let me pray for you. Heavenly Father, we thank you for seasons. We thank you for the ebb and flow of time. We thank you for time for pausing. I thank you for times to reconnect. I pray for parents who are trying to do it all, who are balancing very busy schedules. I know that finances can be very tense in the summertime also, so I pray for wisdom. I pray for connection with couples who are trying to really draw closer to a child who's been so busy through the school year, and they're feeling a little distant. That you close that gap. I pray, Lord, for friends to be bountiful. I pray that the kids will find friends to connect with, that will heal relationships that have been stressed. I pray for positivity and self-worth to be increased in the summer. I pray that we get out in nature. I pray that everybody will be challenge our children to rise up and become really amazing men and women. We love you, Lord, and we thank you for this beautiful blessing. Amen. Have a great week, my friends.